Okay, so now we are going to talk about the next objective of the firm. Uh, and this again is based on the theory of the firm. This is called the objective of survival. Okay, so now let's look at what survival means. Survival simply means that the firm is trying to survive or is going to live through some uh, difficult days and then live to fight another day. Okay. Now, why would survival become an objective, and when does survival become an objective? Survival becomes an objective first and foremost if you're taking the example of a small firm, or let's say the example of a new firm. So a new firm then is not able to compete, very effectively with its larger rivals that are enjoying economies of scale. So what happens is that at that point in time, it is the objective to just lie low, make just enough profit or just minimize the losses in worst conditions, and just survive through these difficult times till such time that economies of scale can be achieved and the firm starts to grow. So that is the first survival for new firms. But survival is also an objective when, let's say, the economy goes in a recession. Okay. Now, when the economy is in a recession and you are selling something which is highly price elastic, okay, people don't have income or they're highly income elastic, okay, and people don't have that kind of income. So now, what people are going to do is they are going to cut your, uh, they are going to cut these uh, expenses, and then your challenge will be, as a business, your challenge will be to just survive in these difficult economic times, like lying low, weathering the storm, so that you can switch to uh, a better objective, or a more rewarding objective once the recession is over and once the incomes of the people return to normal. Okay. Survival can also become an objective when, let's say, interest of the people in a particular thing falls, and then you have to repackage the product, okay, in order to just survive in the business. Okay. uh, let's take for example this idea of the one day limited over cricket. Okay. Now, before 1967, there was no concept of one day cricket. Cricket never finished in one day. Cricket did not even properly start in one day. Okay, the one cricket match took 6 days because there used to be 5 days of play and in the middle 1 day of rest. So, so that was what cricket was like. But the problem started in England when life started becoming fast, and people did not come to watch these matches because of work and because life got very busy. So, in order to survive, okay, the counties in England, or the clubs, the counties, they came up with a different form of cricket. They said, all right, people do not want to come 5 days, but we think that they will come for one day. So instead of the 5 days, they um, they gave uh, this new idea of limited overs. Okay. And there are many people, many cricketers who refused in those days to accept that cricket could be limited overs. Why? For example, the bowlers objected to it. They said if we are limited by the number of overs, then the batsman should also be limited by the number of overs. Why can the batsman play whole day, and why can't one bowler not bowl the whole day? Okay, because in limited overs, you cannot give more than a certain number of overs to a certain bowler. Then you have to change the bowler, but you don't have to change the batsman. So the bowlers took extreme uh, offense at this structure of the new game. And then, as time went on, even people did not have time for this kind of uh, full day entertainment. So they reduced it further. they converted it into a 20 over match. Okay, and there has been more and more resistance to this. This has not been able to fully replace the one day match. Okay, so that is so. Uh, Survival then is a strategy. Okay, um, it's a strategy that works well in certain economic conditions, but it also works well in highly competitive markets. Okay, where your competitor has economies of scale and you don't, then the only way of surviving is to make sure that you just lie low, weather the storm, and over time, as your revenues increase and costs fall, then you can switch towards the objective of making higher profit. Okay. Now we move to another theory of the firm, which is called another objective of the firm, which is called satisficing. Okay, satisficing means instead of optimizing means getting most of the benefit in comparison to the cost. Whatever your cost is, against that you derive the highest amount of benefit, so you are optimizing. But here this is satisficing. Why is satisficing a good objective? Satisficing is a good objective because of various reasons. Here, first try and understand what satisficing does. In satisficing, you do not go for profit maximization, you go for what is called an acceptable level of profit. If you try hard, you can come up with uh, a higher level of profit, but you don't. Okay. um, this has the advantage that if where profits are maximized and where you are getting, let's say, supernormal profits, in that situation you are sending out a signal to the market, and you are inviting, this is an open invitation to the competitors to come into the market and compete with you. Okay, so uh, in many situations, especially when very large organizations are concerned, it is not exactly possible for firms to go for maximum profit all the time. Okay, they will just settle for some satisfactory level, and it is at this point that they will make a profit. They will avoid too much competition, and they will be they will also survive at the same time. Now, please keep one thing in mind: the entrepreneur is running the business. Okay, but in any organization, does the entrepreneur make the only decision? Okay, no, he may not be the person making the decision alone. Why? Because in any organization there are various groups. Okay, we don't call them stakeholders because the stakeholders can be outside the business or inside the business, but they are stakeholders to some extent. But they are, let's say, they are internal stakeholders, and these stakeholders are then making decisions, not alone, and their interests can often conflict with one another. Okay, so what's going to happen? They are going to make their decisions that will make the organization a very complex structure. And now this structure is not just complex in terms of hierarchies or organization levels. No, it's complex because of the presence of human beings whose interests conflict with one another. Sometimes they are in harmony with one another, but they may also be in conflict with one another. So what we have then is an organizational coalition. The company that you see then is not just one company. It becomes a coalition of various groups, coalition of various individuals, and they all participate in setting the goal of the organization. So now we come back to the goal of the organization. Theory of the firm says goal of the organization is uh, to maximize the wealth of the firm, to maximize the profit, to maximize shareholder wealth. But here, the coalition sets goals after negotiation, and these are goals which are based on compromises in order to avoid conflict in a situation where conflicting conflicting objectives are driving different individuals. Okay, so this, taken together, this is called the behavioral theory. Various people are behaving in various ways, and then objectives are emerging because of this behavior. Okay, so this, of course, this behavioral theory was presented by certain March. So what are certain March saying then? They are saying that, look, at the end of the day, one organization doesn't have one goal. Okay, organization is a bundle of various goals. Okay, why? Because this is the real world. In a real world, you cannot just have textbook, you cannot have real world goals derived from textbooks. Okay, in the real world, there are human beings, and these human beings can be rigid. These human beings can have economic interests, and they do have economic interests, and their economic interests will determine that the organization may not have a single goal, and various organizations may have various goals. Okay, so now next time we are going to look into what these various goals might be. All right, thank you very much.